These are all secret powers of Protagonists explained. Number 1. Goku's Ultra Instinct. Let's talk about Autonomous Ultra Instinct, the shiny crown jewel of martial arts and Dragon Ball. It's not just a transformation, it's a state of mind, a divine one at that. This bad boy is so elusive that even the gods of destruction are like, yeah, maybe next lifetime. First introduced by the angel Whis during his sparring sessions with Goku and Vegeta in Dragon Ball Super, this power-up quickly went from what's that to give me more of that. Now let's rewind to its big debut. During the Tournament of Power, Goku gave us the appetizer, Ultra Instinct Sign, when he faced off against Jiren. You know Jiren, the guy who was built like a human tank who casually flexed on everyone like it was leg day. But Goku wasn't about to let that slide. Fast forward to the tournament climax, and boom, inner perfected Ultra Instinct. This wasn't just Goku 2.0, it was Goku saying, I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me. And boy did it deliver! He turned the tables on Jiren in a way that had fans screaming at their screens like it was the Super Bowl. So what makes this transformation so special? Well, it's not like your run-of-the-mill Super Saiyan upgrades. Remember when every new form was just a shiny or hair color? Not here. Autonomous Ultra Instinct flips the script. It's all about letting your body move faster than your brain can think. Sounds like a cheat code, right? Basically, every limb becomes its own boss, reacting perfectly to threats without Goku having to go left punch or right kick. It's like his body has its own Wi-Fi connection, lag-free and lightning fast. But hold up, it's not all sunshine and spirit bombs. To pull this off, you have to master your emotions, clear your mind of all distractions, and oh yeah, survive some life or death ordeal. No pressure, right? Whis and the Grand Minister make it look easy, since they're always in this state. For mortals like Goku though, it's a whole different ballgame. He first dabbled with Ultra Instinct Sign, where he could dodge anything like Neo from the Matrix. But offense, that's where things got tricky. Whis made it clear, dodging is baby steps compared to mastering the art of kicking butt in this form. And let's not forget the toll it takes. This isn't a one and done kind of deal. Each time Goku tapped into Ultra Instinct, his body felt like it just ran a marathon while carrying a fridge. Remember his epic final clash with Jiren? Just when he was about to land the winning blow, his body said nope and collapsed. That's the catch with godly power. It's like playing with fire. You use it too much, and you get burned. Even Whis hints that there might always be limits to how long a mortal can maintain this form. Now here's the kicker. Even with all its hype, Goku's mastery of perfected Ultra Instinct is still entry level compared to the big leagues. He's like the rookie who made it to the NBA but hasn't won MVP yet. There's room to grow, refine, and maybe one day use this power without breaking a sweat. Or his bones. Until then, every time Goku steps into the state, it's like watching history in the making. Number 2. Sung Jinwoo Power and Solo Leveling Explained. Sung Jinwoo's journey in solo leveling is nothing short of extraordinary. Once mocked as humanity's weakest hunter, he quickly ascended to unmatched power, surpassing even the most fearsome S-rank hunters. His transformation wasn't just a result of luck. It stemmed from inheriting the title of the Shadow Monarch. This granted him the ability to command shadows and turn the fallen into his loyal soldiers. The system that disguised his power in a game-like format offered him a range of unique abilities, which can be divided into 3 broad categories. Job-specific skills tied to his role as the Shadow Monarch, active skills he uses in battle, and passive abilities that grant him buffs and immunities. Together, these powers turn Jinwoo into an unstoppable force. One of the most important powers Jinwoo obtained early on was Kandairu's Blessing. This passive skill, acquired during his harrowing experience in the Double Dungeon, played a key role in keeping him alive. It ensured his health remained balanced and prevented any abnormalities in his status. It also came with a host of benefits, detoxifying poisons, granting immunity to diseases, and allowing him to recover faster from fatigue and injuries. In fact, this skill was responsible for regenerating his lost limbs after that brutal encounter in the Double Dungeon. If his health point ever dropped below 30%, it would reduce incoming damage by 50%, giving him a crucial edge during intense battles. Interestingly, Kandairu, the creator of the system and better known as the Architect, was revealed in Solo Leveling Ragnarok to be behind this blessing. Another fascinating aspect of Jinwoo's evolution was his immortality. After fully inheriting the power of the Shadow Monarch, he essentially stopped aging. While he still appeared human, it became clear that he was no longer bound by the limitations of mortality. Even after spending decades fighting monarchs in the dimensional crack, he returned looking just as young as he did when he left. To maintain appearances, Jinwoo began subtly adjusting his look to appear older as time passed, masking his eternal youth. Jinwoo's abilities were never just about survival. They were also about dominating the battlefield. He gained the stealth skill after defeating Kang Tashik, a corrupt hunter who had used the skill to commit heinous crimes. The skill allowed Jinwoo to conceal his presence completely, camouflaging him and becoming almost invisible. While it consumed mana at a steady rate, it proved invaluable in combat, especially against opponents with heightened perception. Similarly, his sprint skill gave him a temporary speed boost, which particularly was useful during battles where quick reflexes were essential. Over time, the skill leveled up and evolved into a more powerful version called Quicksilver. One of Jinwoo's most versatile skills was Commander's Touch, later evolving into Ruler's Authority. Initially, this ability allowed him to telekinetically control objects, a power he acquired from the Red Knight Igris during the Job Change quest. Though initially limited, Jinwoo eventually mastered it, using it to manipulate not just objects, but even people in combat. The skill's immense utility made it a staple in his arsenal, allowing for creative and powerful attacks. Jinwoo's affinity for daggers also shaped many of his combat abilities. Early in his journey, he developed skills like critical attack and dagger toss, which allowed him to strike vital points and attack enemies from a distance with precision. His proficiency with daggers only grew stronger, unlocking advanced dagger arts, which increased his damage output and complemented his other dagger-focused abilities. By the time he faced the Ant King during the Jeju Island raid, these skills had evolved to devastating levels, capable of shredding even the most formidable foes. As Jinwoo's power grew, so did his arsenal and abilities. One of the most terrifying skills he acquired was Bloodlust, which could intimidate and paralyze enemies with fear, reducing their stats significantly. This skill proved decisive in battles, such as his confrontation with Kang Tashik. Later, Jinwoo obtained Dragon Sphere, a scream infused with mana that spread panic and despair among weaker enemies. This skill, acquired from Kamisha's Runestone, was so powerful that it could affect allies as well, forcing Jinwoo to send his shadow soldiers away before using it. Beyond combat, Jinwoo's abilities extended to more subtle and strategic powers. In the epilogue of Solo Leveling, he showcased the ability to manipulate memories. The skill allowed him to alter, erase, or restore memories, which he used to re-establish connections with key figures like Woo Jin-chul and Cha Hee-in. He even restored Go Gun-hee's memories of the alternate timeline just before his death, ensuring their bond remained intact, despite the rewritten history. In the final stages of his journey, Jinwoo discovered new aspects of his Shadow Monarch powers, such as creating shadow armor. This ability allowed him to don a fearsome suit of black armor, resembling Ashbourne's own form. The armor, massive and imposing, played a crucial role in his final battle against Antares and the other monarchs. It was so impressive that Antares initially mistook it for the ruler's spiritual body manifestation ability, a testament to its sheer power. Of course, the cornerstone of Jinwoo's power was his ability to extract shadows. Shadow extraction was the foundation of his role as the Shadow Monarch, allowing him to summon the shadows of fallen enemies and turn them into soldiers. With a simple command, "Arise," he could create an army of loyal followers. While there were limitations, such as the inability to extract shadows from regular humans or those much stronger than him, this skill was unmatched in its versatility and sheer scale. The extracted shadows retained their skills and abilities, making them formidable allies in battle. Number 3. Izuku Midoriya power in My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia first revealed that Midoriya Izuku would eventually gain access to the quirks of One For All's previous users. Fans couldn't contain their excitement. The idea of a previously quirkless hero slowly unlocking an arsenal of unique abilities promised a thrilling journey filled with challenges, intense training, and character growth. Each new power held the potential to transform Deku into the ultimate hero, capable of surpassing all who came before him. One For All has a rich history, passed down through 8 users before Deku. Unlike All Might, who had no quirk of his own when he inherited it, Deku's inheritance included not just the raw power of One for All, but also the latent quirks of its previous wielders. Each ability comes with its own strengths and complexities, and together they form a toolkit that's as diverse as it is powerful. One of the first quirks Deku unlocked was Black Whip, which originally belonged to Daigoro Banjo, the 5th user of One for All. This ability allows Deku to create tough black tendrils from his body, which can move independently. Black Whip is incredibly versatile. It can act as extra limbs to grab objects, swing between buildings, or even catapult them forward. In battle, it's just as effective, letting Deku restrain enemies from a distance or use the tendrils for quick maneuvers that catch opponents off guard. It's no surprise that Black Whip quickly became one of Deku's go-to abilities, both for mobility and combat. Then there's Float, a quirk originally wielded by Nana Shimura, the 7th user of One for All and All Might's mentor. At its core, Float grants the ability to fly, giving Deku unmatched freedom of movement. For him, it became a game changer, allowing him to navigate battles and the battlefield with agility far beyond anything his previous techniques could offer. Over time, the synergy between Float and One for All's raw power made it even more effective. When combined with other quirks like Black Whip or Fa Jin, Deku's speed and maneuverability soared to new heights, momentarily rivaling All Might's top performance. Danger Sense, a quirk from the 4th user, Hikage Shinomori, brings another layer to Deku's arsenal. This ability alerts him to threats by sensing negative emotions or hostile intent within his vicinity. While it's incredibly useful in most scenarios, it does have its limitations. For instance, it can't detect non-human dangers or threats from individuals who harbor no ill will. This was evident during Deku's encounter with Himiko Toga, whose twisted love for him rendered Danger Sense ineffective, even though her actions were undeniably dangerous. Similarly, when Class 1A tried to stop him during a pivotal moment, the quirk failed to register their attempts as threats because their intentions were rooted in care and concern. Another unique addition to Deku's growing skill set is Smokescreen, a quirk inherited from In, the 6th user. This ability allows him to emit thick smoke to obscure his surroundings, making it harder for enemies to locate him. While it's a great tool for creating diversions or hiding, it comes with its own risks. The smoke affects everyone, including Deku, so it must be used strategically. In himself had described Smokescreen as a supplementary tool rather than a standalone weapon, emphasizing the importance of using it in tandem with other quirks for maximum effectiveness. Fa Jin, a quirk from the 3rd user, marked a turning point for Deku, as it was the first offensive ability he unlocked. This quirk let him store kinetic energy by performing repetitive motions and release it in explosive bursts of speed and power. The simplicity of its mechanics makes it highly reliable, and the power boost it provides allows Deku to momentarily mimic All Might's peak strength. With Fa Jin, Deku can amplify his attacks to devastating levels, packing tremendous force into deceptively light movements. This quirk showcased Deku's potential to eventually surpass All Might, even before mastering the full extent of One for All. Perhaps the most intriguing ability Deku has inherited is Transmission, the quirk of the 2nd user and the final one he will unlock. Transmission allows him to alter the speed of anything he touches, including himself. With 3 distinct speed stages, it transforms Deku into a green blur, making him almost untouchable in combat. Offensively, it's just as dangerous. By landing successive hits, Deku can slow down his opponents, creating an overwhelming advantage. Together with Fa Jin, Transmission allows Deku to push his limits, showcasing bursts of speed and power that hint at the potential of One for All. The origins of One for All tie all these abilities together. It was created when All for One, assuming his younger brother Yoichi Shigaraki was quirkless, gave him a simple power stalking quirk. What he didn't realize was that Yoichi already had a quirk, albeit a seemingly useless one that allowed him to transfer power to others. When the two abilities merged, One for All was born. Over generations, each user added their own strength to the quirk, refining and preparing it for the ultimate confrontation with All for One. It became a legacy built on hope and sacrifice, passed down with the belief that one day, someone would rise to finally defeat All for One. Number 4. Meliodias, the 7 Deadly Sins. In the 7 Deadly Sins, Meliodias stands as an enigma of raw power, a warrior so formidable that his small, unassuming appearance feels like a deliberate misdirection. At first glance, the pint-sized leader of the titular band of knights looked more like a mischievous teenager than the son of the Demon King. But beneath that boyish grin lies a fighter capable of unimaginable feats. Feats that can shatter mountains, raise entire kingdoms, and bend even the most overwhelming odds in his favor. As the eldest of his demonic lineage, Meliodias wields a terrifying combination of physical prowess, magical aptitude, and sheer destructive potential that few can rival. Meliodias' strength and combat abilities are the cornerstone of his power. While his magic often takes center stage, his physical capabilities alone are staggering, thanks to his demonic heritage. With nothing more than a broken sword or even a simple stick, Meliodias can split mountains, destroy dungeons, and send shockwaves ripping through the battlefield. His raw strength is often showcased in casual arm wrestling matches with Bond, when their sheer force brings down entire structures around them. What's even more unsettling is how effortlessly he combines this strength with his unparalleled speed, moving so fast that he leaves afterimages in his wake, overwhelming his opponents before they can even process his attacks. But what truly sets Meliodias apart is the power unlocked through his demon mark modes. These transformations amplify all of his abilities to monstrous levels, at the cost of his humanity. In his standard demon mark form, his shadowy markings grow across his body, signaling a surge in power. As the marks expand, so too does his capacity for destruction. However, the most fearsome of these forms is Assault Mode, where Meliodias becomes a near unstoppable force of nature. In this state, his strength, speed, and magical abilities reach their peak, but he also reverts to his cold, emotionless, and cruel demonic persona. In these forms, Meliodias gains a new ability, the power to manipulate shadows. He can conjure and mold them into weapons, wings, extra limbs, or anything his imagination conjures. This versatility makes him even more unpredictable and dangerous in battle. But his power goes beyond mere physical or magical enhancements. Meliodias possesses something truly extraordinary, a destructive force that seems to transcend limitations. This ability, often hinted at but rarely explained in detail, allows him to bypass powers and defenses that would render most fighters helpless. For instance, Meliodias managed to overpower Zeldris, who had borrowed his father's power to become immune to magic. Where others would have faltered, Meliodias simply ignored this restriction, using his magic to break through Zeldris' defense. Similarly, in his battle against the Demon King, Meliodias delivered devastating blows, even eviscerating his father's arm, despite being outmatched for much of the fight. And when it came to the commandments, the very essence of the Demon King's power, Meliodias did the unthinkable. He didn't just defeat them, he erased them from existence. This act alone solidifies his position as a force beyond comprehension, as even his father, equal in raw power, could not achieve such a feat. Perhaps the most chilling display of Meliodias' destructive potential came during his darkest moment, the annihilation of Danafor. Overcome with grief and rage, Meliodias lost control and unleashed a force that wiped an entire city off the map, leaving nothing but desolation in its wake. And this is when his power level was a fraction of what it would become later. As his strength grew, so too did his capacity to destroy, culminating in his ability to break curses, dismantle magical constructs, and overcome barriers that should have been insurmountable. What are your thoughts? Let us know down in the comment section below.